I'm Milo, welcome to my channel, welcome back. Today, I thought, because the first one was such a success, that I would do another My Name Picks the Books I Read. If you don't know what this is, it's basically, I take a book that begins with each letter of my name, in this case, Milo, which is my name, and I read it. So, I read an M book, an I book, an L book, and an O book. I'm doing this now because I currently own only 2 O books, and I've approached the O book, so I thought might as well do another one of these. That and I wanted to. So I put all of my M books in a random wheel generator, and we will spin to see what my first book is. Last time I did this, all of the books were on this bookshelf, so I'm wondering if since the O book's on the bookshelf behind the camera, if all the books will be on that one. Probably not, but anyway. Mythology of the British Isles, which is on this bookshelf. Maybe I was right. Is that gonna make that fall? I didn't. Okay, so first book I'm reading is Mythology of the British Isles by Jeffrey Ashe. An unforgettable and illuminating exploration of the legends of the British Isles. For the misty centuries of the British and Irish prehistory to the height of the Dark Ages. Oh, hello, Daisy. The cat just walked in. Okay. Dark Ages comes the tale of giants and fairy folk, druids and saints, from King Lear to King Arthur to Fingal, Beowulf, Gwendolyn and Guinevere. These are the characters who shaped the nation, but who were they? In Mythology of the British Isles, Jeffrey Ashe explores these compelling and ancient stories, seeing how they have taken on fresh significance as historical and archaeological research has uncovered the truth behind each legend. So I'll get back to you when I start reading, which will probably be tomorrow, because it's late and I need to shower. There's something I realised I forgot to say. Yes, I'm in my nightie, and my husband just got out of the shower, like I said. If I don't like the book, I will DNF it and then spin the wheel again. Okay, that's all. Contrary to what you might be thinking, it is actually the next day, and I've read 2 chapters of Mythology of the British Isles, and I gotta say, it's a lot more history-based so far than I thought it would be. I mean, I get that you need history for context of myths, but it feels like he's cramming a lot of history into one specific thing, which is slightly overwhelming, and half the time it doesn't make a lot of sense. But again, I'm only 2 chapters in. And another thing is, I didn't realise how involved our history is with the Romans. I guess it makes sense they did conquer us at one point, but, you know, interesting. But to be completely honest with you, not really enjoying it so far, which is honestly kind of disappointing, because I was really looking forward to reading this, because I really like mythology, and I'd like to know mythology of the place I'm from, you know? But again, only 2 chapters, maybe it'll improve. Oh, back here again. I'm thinking 2 things. First, yes, this is a new hoodie. It is the inverse of the one that Dan used to have, because I like it, and it's warm. And second off, a new update at the desk. Has he finished already? No, I have not finished. Instead, I have decided that I will be DNFing this book, simply because I am bored. I like history, I like mythology. I don't understand why I don't like this, but I don't, and I just can't sit through it anymore, because I'm not enjoying myself. And I don't see the point in reading a book that I'm just not going to enjoy. which is a shame because I was really looking forward to this. So, first DNF of the year. But there we go. But since that's happened, we need a new M book. And as I said, we're going to spin the wheel again. Monsters Who Murder. Ooh, we're back on this bookcase. Monsters Who Murder, True Stories of the World's Most Evil Serial Killers by Al Camino. Which, you know, presumably is exactly how it sounds. Which, I'm not going to say I'm going to hope to enjoy this, because it is about serial killers. Oh, hello, Daisy. Certainly, I hope it's more interesting. And it's less than 300 pages, so that's good. 255. Okay, so the back reads, hidden among us live some of the most deprived and dangerous individuals who one could ever imagine. Their enthusiasm for killing knows no bounds, and their violent rampages often consume many victims before they are finally brought to justice. In Monsters Who Murder, author Al Camino explores the twisted motivations and horrifying crimes of some of the most evil men and women that have ever walked the earth. In this book, we hear about Keith Hudson Jesperson, who drew smiley faces on his letters to the authorities as he boasted of his atrocious crimes. Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee monster, who dismembered his victims and kept a fridge full of body parts. Charles Albright, who removed the eyes from dolls and photographs attempting the same surgery on his unfortunate victims. I think I heard of that one before. Or is that creepypasta? I don't know. This certainly seems more interesting. So there are 27 serial killers in this, and that they cover, so I probably won't be as in-depth as the book I read last time, you know, Inside the Mind of John Wayne Gacy, but it certainly would, I hope it's interesting. I guess you'll know if I actually finished this one or DNF'd it as well, because I presume it will be in the thumbnail, but we'll see. Yeah, I will keep you updated. Oh, look, photographs. Yay! Okay, so this much better captures my attention and is a lot more interesting. I'm not going to say enjoyable because it's about serial killers again, but yeah, it's easier to read, not overcomplicated, slightly sickening because again, serial killers, but I'm more interested in it than I was the mythology book, which again, slightly sad, but you win some, you lose some. So far, from what I've gathered, I've only read about one of the serial killers, which they start with Jeffrey Dahmer, as you saw earlier with the picture. Basically, from what I've gathered from that specifically, it's just a short overview of every time they kill. Nothing that leads up to it, and just what happens after they get arrested and how they die, from what I can tell. But again, only read about Jeffrey Dahmer, and the next serial killer is Henry Lee Lucas, America's most prolific serial killer, and I don't know if I've heard about him. I probably have. But yeah. Again, this is just a lot more interesting. Okay, so I've just finished the Son of Sam story. I think everyone knows who Son of Sam is. And for some reason, the author just broke the pattern of, you know, just explaining the murders, and for some reason focused on the police and the community's response. Which is okay, I guess. But and then at the end, they just pivoted to the Son of Sam's life leading up to the murders, but it didn't really feel like, it didn't really fit, I suppose, because it didn't really focus on Sam at all, compared to how they were very, like, for the first two stories or retellings, whatever, they just kind of went through the motions of what the killer did, who the victims were, and how they were killed. And it didn't really make sense to me whether they would focus on specifically. Hi! Let me talk. Like they would focus on the police randomly. Let me talk. And I know Son of Sam was a really big deal in the 70s, but I don't get why in this situation he gets special treatment. I don't know, but it just feels weird and out of pocket. Luca Magnotta was not a serial killer. Why are you here then? Having now read the story, well, section, I understand now why he's in this book. And you know, also, it seems the police are even incompetent in Canada. Also, there was just a random section where they explained how this guy got beheaded. Tragic, definitely, but had zero ties to Luca Magnotta, so I don't really understand why that was there. I mean, it's horrible that happened. The next story is about the Golden State Killer, which made me remember that I have a book about that this woman wrote, where she basically dedicated her entire life to solving the Golden State Killer case, and actually died before she could publish the book. So her friend had to finish the book for her. And then, like, I don't know if it was a couple months or a couple years later, but they did actually solve the case. That's not really relevant to this, but it just made me think about that. Catamath, old Dan livestream on the TV. This would probably be really relaxing if I wasn't reading a book about serial killers. Finished, and I'd usually do my reading wrap-up thing, whatever, at my desk, but currently I am trapped under a cat, so until that happens, till she moves, I'm stuck here. So I'm gonna give my thoughts and feelings and rating for this now. Overall, I guess the book was easy to read and grabbed my attention, and I guess was interesting, though having read some of these stories, I don't think they're completely accurate, but by no means I'm not an expert. But the other stuff that I have read or listened to about before didn't really match up with some of these stories. And above that, there was a lot, well, 3 instances of the casual use of the arsler, which was really bad, to put it bluntly, and I don't like it. And in 2 of those instances, you can, I guess, excuse because it was when people were diagnosed with that, back when it was still a diagnosis, which is a whole other can of worms, which I'm not going to go into detail with because I'm just not educated enough on it, and I don't think I should talk about it. But the third time that the R word was mentioned, it was in the same section in a story where they had censored out the N word for obvious reasons, but they just left the R word as it was. Because, like, it was in a quote, because it was quoted that some police officers were saying that, and they just didn't censor it at all and just left it as it is, which is just bad. Like, why would, and like, what's with the double standards? So obviously, didn't enjoy that. And so with that, above the possible inaccuracies, again, not an expert, and just the discrepancies in, like, story length, like, well, I say story length, it feels like each serial killer should have been, like, had the same length of time dedicated to them, and it felt kind of inconsistent in each way it talked about the serial killer in like a different way. And so, because of that, I will be rating this 2.5 stars and, pardon me, and unhauling it. And when eventually I'm free from the cat, Daisy, that's her name, I will, and I have access to my desk and most of my phone, which is on my desk, I will spin the wheel to get the iBook. And I'm hoping for something lighthearted. I have gained freedom. I think she might be visible in the background, I don't know. Yes, now I'll be spinning for the iBook and hoping and praying that I don't get any of the other serial killer books or it, because I need a mental break. Please give me poetry or art. I'll explain that if I get the books. Oh, thank God. Whew. I have got If Not Winter, Fractures of Sappho, collected by Anne Carson. Thank God. It's also at this bookshelf behind you, which is where the original book before Monsters Who Murdered got picked. This is a poetry book, as I mentioned, which is a collection of fragments of the poet Sappho, who was an ancient Greek poet. A lot of her poetry was destroyed because a lot of it included her talking about her love of women. If you don't recognise the name Sappho, there's a possibility you'll know what Sapphism is, which is what being a lesbian was called before the phrase lesbian was coined. And obviously it was named after her because she talked about being about women romantically for ages, and that's why her poetry was destroyed. I've had this book, I think, for like pre-lockdown, so like maybe like 6 years, possibly more at this point. I got recommended this book pre-lockdown. I don't remember when I got it, but it looks fun, and I'll be so thankful for it because it'll be something that I desperately need after reading a book about serial killers. I'll read the back now. The complete extant work of the Greek poet Sappho in a new translation by Anne Carson. Sappho lived on the island of Lesbos for around 630 BC. That's where the word lesbian comes from. She was a musical genius who devoted her life to composing and performing songs. Of the 9 books of lyrics Sappho is said to have composed, none of the music is extant, and only 1 poem has survived complete. All the rest are fragments. In If Not Winter, Anne Carson presents all of Sappho's fragments in Greek and in English. Brackets and space give the reader a sense of what is absent and as well as what is present on the papyrus. I know papyrus was like a tablet thing that they used to like scribe, but now I'm just picturing the character from Undertale. Carson's translation illuminates Sappho's reflection on love, desire, marriage, exile, cushions, bees, old age, shame, time, chickpeas, and many other aspects of human situation. Whew, and I hope I enjoy this because the other poetry books I've read I haven't really enjoyed. Enjoy writing it, don't generally enjoy reading it. But this is definitely the palate cleanser that I will need after reading that and reading the other book. Something I really like is that they have the poem or song, whatever, in Greek, and then they also have it in English, which I really like. When they say fragments, they mean fragments. There's only 1 sentence left of this one. Dear God, that must be frustrating. I would like to read this quote to you. It won't spoil anything. Pan, the god of goats, wild space, pipes, and the silence of noon. The silence of noon. Gotta love Greek gods and their random titles. So hi, I'm wondering, why is this so quick? Oh god, did he DNF the book? No, I actually finished it. Mainly because a lot of it is just random words, because again, these are fragments of Sappho and not the complete poems. I'm sure the complete poems would be a lot longer and make more sense. So yeah, I think I enjoyed this, but I am rating it 3 stars because I guess mainly frustration, which I guess isn't fair because it is all we really have of Sappho's work, and there's not really anything I can do about that, or anything Anna Carson could do. But hey ho, but it is also a thing is that I don't generally enjoy poetry books, but there's that. So, come up. But now I finished the iBook, we should now go on to the L book. The penultimate book. Little Woman, which is over here. Yeah, I know. Right, so Little Woman by Louise May Alcott, which I have this pretty, I think it's a special edition, don't quote me on that, but it is very pretty, and I think I'll probably listen to the audiobook of this, and there's no blurb because it's a classic, but it does say, have the quote on the back, I could never love anyone as I love my sisters. So this looks fun, I don't know. But here we are. Is this on the... Oh yeah, this is on the 100 book bucket list as well, I think. So add that to the playlist. I remember the first time I think I heard about Little Women, I thought it was by Jane Austen. Obviously I was wrong. The only Jane Austen book that I have read is Pride and Prejudice, so I hope I enjoy this more than that. Even though it's not a Jane Austen book, but you get what I mean. But yeah, this looks fun. So I found an audiobook. It's an Audible original drama and it's 12 hours and 15 minutes. So I don't know how long this will take me to read. Probably like, I don't know, 2 days, 3 days maybe, because it's an audiobook. But yeah, I was thinking from now on, if I have the chance to, I'm going to try and listen to all classics as audiobooks. Classics are generally, for me personally, are kind of hard to read right now, so I think listening to audiobook would be better for me. Though I will at some point I'll go in between just listening to the audiobook and doing an immersive read, which is when you read the book alongside the audiobook, and I might do colouring, but you'll know that at some point. And then I will probably come over here when I finished it and rub it off, which is where... I guess Little Woman isn't on here. I could have sworn it was. It should be. From what everyone raves about it. That's weird. No, I haven't started reading it, but I wanted to know what other books in the series, because if you didn't know, Little Woman is actually a trilogy. There's 2 sequels, but for some reason they've got more 11 different books here. But so it's got Little Woman, whatever that is in another language, which I think is just a translation of Little Woman. then Good Wives, which is the part 2 of Little Men, which I think is the actual sequel, and then Joe's Boy, which I think is the third one. And then, yeah, that's it. But I just thought it was interesting. Okay, so I checked. I only have Little Women. I need to get Good Wives at some point. It won't matter necessarily to this right now, but I don't have it currently. Hi, it's the next day, and I finished it because basically I've just been listening to the audiobook since I basically got up until like halfway through my last lesson of the day, so I've been listening to this non-stop on the audiobook. I still have like 6 hours left, which is where Good Wives picks up, but for this book and for the sake of this reading vlog, I have finished Little Women. And I gotta say, I like this more than Pride and Prejudice. It was so cozy to me. And I don't know if that's just because of the audiobook I was listening to, probably, but I really enjoyed this. I found it funny and, like, what's his name? Laurie, yeah. Laurie was a lot more charming than I thought he would be, and yeah, it's really cute. And also where it left off, there's like 24 more chapters, I know. But, like, where it left off wasn't, like, a really big cliffhanger, and I liked the characters, and I am actively thinking about it more, so I do want to continue, so that's probably going to happen. I don't know if I'll do it with just the audiobook, or if I'll try and get a physical copy of Good Wives. We'll see. But, yeah, I am rating this 3.5 stars, because it is technically incomplete, but I do think that's a really good rating, and I did enjoy this, as I'm saying. Now, we move on to our final book, the O book, the reason we are here in the first place, because I was approaching this, and that book is Otherworldly by F.T. Lucan, which, as far as I'm aware, is an alien MN romance. And I will read this to you. A supernatural skeptic, a super hot magical being, not alien then. A crossroads deal signed in blood. Ooh. Ellery doesn't believe in magic. Ellery, that's an interesting name. Doesn't believe there's anything but science behind the five-year winter. Definitely doesn't believe the handsome regular at his cafe is actually a supernatural familiar. Knox has been trapped in the human realm for years. Finally freed, he should be going home to the other world, but he's scared of what awaits him there. Knox needs a tether to the human world. Ellery needs a way to stop the endless winter. Striking a deal will change everything for them both. Okay, so he's an elf thingy. He looks like an alien. I read another book by him, In-Depth Waters, I think like 2 years ago, and I remember really enjoying that, so I'm picking up this now. Really excited. This reading vlog is going to be a lot shorter than I intended it to be, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I'd like to point out that despite this being a very winter-based book, I'm using a very spring-themed bookmark, because I think it's funny. 3 things. 1. I was wrong, this isn't an MN romance, as Ellery seems to be on the non-binary spectrum, or at least uses they, them pronouns. So there's that. 2. How these two meet and interact, like the premise of that. I've only read prologue and chapter 1, so I don't really know how they start interacting, but like the setup of that is what I wanted in Fake Dates and Mooncakes. That's not relevant to this vlog at all, but it felt important for me to say. And 3, this book's dual POV, which is fun. So it goes back between Ellery and Knox, though I haven't read a chapter from Knox's POV yet. Reading this has reminded me how much I like fantasy elements in like modern settings, like fantastical creatures interacting with modern day stuff. I don't know if that makes sense. If it does, please... Oh, it's magical realism. That's probably what I'm thinking of. But if you have any books with that in them, please recommend. I love Ellery's cousin and her girlfriend. They're really sweet. It seems this book has the trope of withholding vital information in an attempt not to hurt the other, but ultimately will end up hurting them even more because of how long they withhold the information. Fantastic. Ellery's in a bad situation. I have a theory that I can't really say because it would spoil it, but I have a theory, and I'll let you know if the theory is correct or not. My theory was wrong. It doesn't necessarily impact the plot in any way, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah. I'm going to read you 2 sentences. It's not going to spoil anything, but you know. They were the vintage kind. Oh wait, hold on. Never mind. They reached into the dump bag and pulled out the headphones. They were the vintage kind that went over the ears. Vintage? When did headphones, like, become vintage? That's why they're called headphones. They go over your ears. That made me feel old. Headphones aren't vintage. And this is set in, like, a distant future, which it doesn't appear to be. Jesus Christ. You ready to see an obvious reference? Or is this story a retelling of that? Really complicated retelling if it is. I finished! Woo! And, honestly, it was a little disappointing, but I think I've been feeling that a lot with YA novels recently, so I don't know if it's specifically this book or just my tastes changing. But I feel like this should have been longer, or like had a sequel, so that it was like, so the story could properly be explored. Because it felt very rushed, because it is only like 350 pages, so I felt like it should have been like longer, and they explore the supernatural elements and the city elements deeper if they had more time. Also, the age gap between Ellery and Knox, not great. I don't like this thing that they do that I'm pretty sure Twilight popularised, where the female, when the main character is a teenager and ends up falling for a supernatural being that's like thousands of years old. It's just uncomfortable. And borderline something I don't know if I'm allowed to say because I haven't looked at guidelines. Probably should. Needed more time. I didn't hate it though, but I don't think I will be revisiting this at all. So because of that, it will be an unhaul. I am rating it 3.75 stars though. You know, which overall this reading vlog has been better than the last one that I did of this. I mean, if we ignore the first book, which this book, it went swimmingly, and just progressively got higher ratings. So I wonder if that means the next book I read is going to be a 4 stars. Stay tuned for the reading wrap up. I don't know if that will be coming out. Yeah, reading wrap up, which will come out at some point in February. I'm hoping to get this one out in soon. But as a recap, the books I read for this vlog was Monsters Who Murder. I can't remember who wrote it, and I don't have the book with me because I sold it. And yeah, and the M book, Monsters Who Murder. I book, If Not Winter, Fragments of Sappho, translated by Anne Carson. The L book was Little Women by Louise May Alcott, and the O book was Otherworldly by F.T. Lukens. So this is everything I read. Thank you for watching. And please like and subscribe, comment, do all the other amazing YouTube things, and please stick around. If it's your first video. I don't know what I'm saying. Bye!